Hello and welcome back to the Women Making Herstory series. I am your host today, Nancy Matthews, and I'm one of the founders of Women's Prosperity Network. And all month long, in celebration of Women's History Month, we are shining the light on 31 visionary women who are making herstory. And we know that you're making herstory too. Today, I have the privilege of introducing you to a woman who's had a profound impact in my own life, as well as many of the members of our community of Women's Prosperity Network. She is a teacher, a healer, a best-selling author, a woman who has a heart that surpasses, any capacity I've ever seen before to love and to lead. So thank you so much for being with us, Betsy Rosam.
Thank you so much for having me share on Herstory Month.
It's fun.
Really grateful. I'm really excited to share today about how happiness equals success and not the other way around.
Yeah. So for a lot of time, I know I had it backwards. So I'm grateful that I think I figured it out. So before we jump in, let me share with our audience a little bit about you and your background. Betsy Rosam, MS, is an Amazon #1 best-selling author, a certified speaker, and energy psychology counselor that has been known to change minds in minutes, subconsciously. She works with passionately driven, successful women who are committed to giving and getting more out of life. She guides them in processes that break through any limitations they may have quickly, easily, and permanently. Betsy recognizes that our success in business is also related to our personal success. While working with women business owners, she found that many postpone any sort of personal development. And she knows that when our thinking or feelings aren't in alignment with our goals in our business, we end up self-sabotaging our success. This is true in our personal life and relationships as well. Betsy's toolbox is full of useful skills, including EFT, which is emotional freedom technique, meridian tapping practitioner, advanced psyche facilitator, theta healing, and MS in mental health counseling, and a ministerial license from the Universal Life Church. She comes to us today armed, prepared to give us some real tools on enjoying a more happy, robust life that's in alignment with our goals, our successes, and our happiness. So thank you again, Betsy.
Thank you. Thank you again. This is great. One of the things that being in business, I remember I've always been kind of a happy person. Happiness and joy has come easily to me. I like the feeling of happiness. And I know it's an inside job. But I remember when I started business, it was almost as if I had to put the business suit on, and I felt like, and this was a feeling, again, feelings aren't facts, but part of me felt like if I show happiness and joy, I'm not going to be taken seriously. And business people are serious, or they didn't think I was smart. Our society with women particularly equate, when we're happy and joyful and we're being authentically women, a lot of times, in order to be viewed as being smart and in integrity and committed and successful, that we have to put the pants on and be this strict, person who's just, straight, narrow, and stiff and not happy.
Yeah.
And that's not the truth.
Well, I love that you shared that, because I know for me, if we go back and trace the women's liberation movement, in the 1970s, that's when I was growing up, and the only role models of leaders that I saw prevalent were men. So I think it was common for us to think we had to take on that masculine energy and stance in order to be successful.
And here's the thing is Dr. Christiana Northrup talks about the pendulum swinging back and forth, and how as women, we put the pants on, and we put the pants of masculinity on instead of embracing the feminine nature of who we are. We're nurturers. We're automatic nurturers. And right now our world needs those we need nurturing, and we're needed to be that feminine, to stand in the feminine power of who we are. And we do that with happiness and joy. I have a emotional vibrational scale. Abraham Hicks, I got it off of their website. But there's emotional vibrational scale, and happiness, bliss and joy are like at the top. Mm-hmm. And we attract more at those higher levels. And so if we want to be successful, we got to be happy, because we will attract more and more and more because of that energetic vibrational scale. And I get real excited about this.
and you said something and right at the top, that oftentimes we want something that we think will bring us happiness. Success will bring us happiness. Just being the right weight, the right man, the right friendships, the right opportunity, that's going to bring me happiness. And what I hear you saying is actually we got it backwards.
Yeah, happiness has to come within. There's an intrinsic feeling of happiness and joy. And when we connect with that, and I believe it's all spirit, and not, I have to put a disclaimer of this is not a religious talk, it's a spiritual talk. And I don't try to convince anybody of their beliefs, but whatever your belief is, we have the spark of divine within us. And connecting with that divine spirit of love, then we become aware of who we really are. This is just skin. It's not permanent. We are spiritual beings first and foremost. Mm-hmm. And when we remember that and we stand in that, the power is awesome. And we stand in that power, as I can't touch this now,
Can't touch this. Yeah.
Can't touch this now. Yeah. And because of that connection, and, you can go through anything and still find happiness and joy.
We're going to get to that in a moment. We're going to get to some of how you've been able to find your happy in the midst of the greatest storm, somebody could face.
I want to get this. Okay. I have a happy rock.
That's good. That's good. So I want to talk a little bit about your background and how you've been making history for decades. You started off as a school teacher, and now you transitioned from that, and you're the speaker and author and coach. And so how did that journey happen for you?
When I was a little girl, at the age of 10, I learned to sew, and I fell in love with sewing. And I was told, and now this was in the 1960s, I was told that if I wanted to be a fashion designer, I had to live in New York, and I couldn't have a family because we couldn't do both.
Oh, wow.
And so I was told that if I really, and I was involved in 4-H, and I was like, oh, I could teach home ec because I could still do the things that I love, and I love all the aspects. So at 13 years of age, I realized I wanted to be a home economics teacher. And I grew up in a family where my mom wasn't real thrilled about me going to college. She was not a college degree person, but my father was an engineer. And her thought was, well, you just go to college to find a husband.
Right. You want to that's that old saying, get an
MRS degree. Yeah. Well, and a home ec degree was right along with that. Okay. Uh-huh. It was really in alignment with that. That was not my purpose, however. So I went to junior college. My parents said, well, if you are committed and you pay for the first 2 years, junior college, we'll pay for the last 2 years at Florida State. And so I worked part-time as a secretary for electronics firm from 1 to 5. And I went to school in the morning, at night, and got my undergraduate, my AA degree, and then went to Florida State and graduated. And 3 months later, got married to my first husband. And I was a stay-at-home mom for the first 12 years. He was a Coast Guard pilot, and we moved around a lot. And I had 3 kids in 5 years. And the home ec degree was perfect for being the perfect mother and the perfect wife. And in those days, they were still, there were a lot of books about how to be the perfect wife and mother, and things were changing. And I remember when my youngest daughter started kindergarten, I started teaching, and I taught middle school home economics for 20 years. And
Wow.
I had some classes. I had one class right after lunch there were 40 kids in the class. 39 were boys. There was one girl.
What?
Yeah, and I called it my bachelor living class.
That is awesome.
And I had the best time with those boys. When they got on the sewing machines, it was like a race car. And I was teaching them all kinds of life skills, everything from money management to how to do the laundry, how to help out at home.
So I had no idea, like, you've been pouring into the lives of people with life skills, management, taking care of the most important thing, our home, for
Mm-hmm.
so long, my friend. Wow. And so your teaching career came to a close, and how did you get on this path of being
It's
a
interesting because
teacher, a coach?
as part of the child development unit, we learned about neurotransmitters and how the brain's wired in the first 7 years of our lives. And I became very interested in that. And knowing that they were closing home ec programs, I went back and got my master's in mental health counseling, thinking I was going to do parenting workshops. And when I quit teaching and I was going to do the parenting workshops, I found that the parents that really needed it weren't coming. And
How about that?
and then the county had programs for those that really were required to have it. And I thought, you know what? Mothers are women. And when we do our internal work, we're going to be better mothers.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Okay. And if we don't, I hate using the word fix, and until we get this squared away, those neural pathways squared away, those beliefs change that are limiting, we're going to pass those limiting beliefs on to our kids. And I know for sure there were I have watched my 3 children as adults now, and I thought, that was what I passed on. Uh-oh.
Yeah. If I only knew now, then.
Well, you know that, and I have a saying, when we know better, we do better.
All right, beautiful. So I can see it was a logical progression, bringing in all of your skills, and you have made such an impact in the lives of so many people.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for showing up. And
I calculated I had 800 kids a year, and over 20 years, that's probably about 10,000 kids that I taught.
So beautiful. So
Thank
beautiful.
you.
All right, so let's talk about how to find happiness in the darkest of times.
One of the things that showed up for me, and many of you know that 2.5 years ago, I lost my 34-year-old daughter to a drunk driving crash. But during that time, there were a lot of other challenges. My father passed away. My mother-in-law passed away. We had 2 hospitalizations. My husband and I were both in the hospital separate times. My husband lost a job that he had had for 30 years. So the income that went with it. My son was going through huge depression because he was suffering from survivor guilt, thinking that this should have been him instead of his sister, because he thought of himself as the bad kid. And during this whole time, we sold 2 houses and bought a house, and just all kinds of things happened. And during this whole time, my husband and I would look at each other, and we'd kind of hold hands, and we'd look at each other, and we'd kind of stomp our feet and go, right here, right now, we're okay. Right here, right now, in this moment, everything's good. Everything's good right here, right now. And breathe through it. No, everything is okay. When I stand right here in this moment, filled with, and gratitude is huge. Standing in gratitude, everything is okay. And because of that, we had some amazing things happen in the middle of all this stuff. I wrote and published an Amazon bestseller.
Which is called, by the way, let me tell everybody. I may not get it correct, so you tell the title.
Making More Than Lemonade Out of Lemons. It's an inspiring book with journal questions at the end of each
Yeah.
chapter.
And they can get it at your website, right?
They can get it at my website. They can get it on Amazon, but my website, yes.
Yeah.
Um,
So Betsy, I want to say what I'm hearing from you
mhm.
is in the midst of the storm, you find a way to get present and focus on what is right instead of what is not right.
Yeah, and yes, and it's funny because I did a painting with words that says life isn't about weathering the storm; it's about learning how to dance in the rain.
Yeah.
And
And
that's
you have learned how to do that. You have,
dancing in the rain. I remember, yeah, they're just so many things, wonderful things. It became a part of the Awakening Giants TV program, joined Illumination. A lot of my husband and I do a Reiki circle in our community. We bought our current dream home. I don't know that it'll be our final one because
you keep dreaming.
yeah, we kind of up level, continued
So
serving clients, just a lot of
things.
positive things in the middle of it all. And we talk about gratitude, and for me it's not only the feeling of gratitude, but there is an active gratitude. An active gratitude, again, going back to being the one, right? Recognizing, appreciating, and valuing, and saying something. Last night we.
Forgive me. I was going to ask, as we're talking about gratitude, because time flies so quickly. We're just about at the end of our interview together. So speaking of gratitude, share with us, I'm asking everyone, who is a woman in history who had a major impact in your life?
And I'm going to say both my daughters. And my 34-year-old daughter was an elementary school music teacher. And she persevered. She left me a gratitude jar filled with little sticky notes with the date and something she was grateful for. At 34, when she passed away, we had over 450 people honoring her at her service. And one of the schools she taught at named their outdoor theater after her. She persevered. She created an after-school guitar program for a very poor school where there were no instruments, and she collected instruments for these kids to utilize.
Tell me about your other daughter as well, because you said both your daughters.
My other daughter is in theater, and she does aerial silks and teaches that. And Stephanie, at the age of 13, was run over by a car and had some back injuries and knee injuries. And then when she was in college, she was on a cruise ship to Europe, and beautiful. But when she was in Greece, she fell off a moped and broke 4 ribs in her back. So for her to be able to do the aerial silks that she does, I mean, she does the splits in the air hanging. For her to do those things, it's such an inspiration for me about anything's possible, because I know people who have been through those types of situations, those types of accidents, and they're sitting on the couch.
Yeah, couldn't get it. That's quite an inspiration from your daughters. That's beautiful.
So they both of them are
awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So great conversation. You and I could continue for a long time. And I want to encourage all of our viewers, go ahead and connect with Betsy. Click on the link below. She's got a free gift for you. And give a quick description of what that gift is, please.
It's a list. It's a checklist of behaviors you might have that are self-sabotaging your success. Again, and it kind of lists them. And if you look at them, you say, I'm doing that, then it might be really a good idea to connect with me. I do have a virtual tea party. We can connect and talk about how quickly and easily we can make those changes.
Because she has been known to change minds in minutes. And I spoke with somebody the other day who said, oh my gosh, I sat with Betsy at the Illumination Retreat for 5 minutes. Bam, gone. So get in touch with Betsy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, all right. Thank you for being with us today. I appreciate you so much, my friend.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. And to all our viewers out there, I trust you enjoyed today's episode, as you will all the ones that are coming. So be sure to check your inbox for the next in this fabulous series. Click on the link below over there to get the gift from Betsy. And over here, join the movement. We need you and your voice to be stepping up, sharing it with the world as women take our place in more roles of leadership together, making a positive difference in the world. So join Women's Prosperity Network, click on that little button, and again, check your inbox for the next edition of Women Making Herstory. Bye, Betsy. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.